They told you it was about nuclear weapons, enriched uranium, red lines, existential threats. That's the story. That's the headline. That's what they needed you to believe. Here's what they didn't tell you. 3 weeks before Operation Epic Fury launched, China dumped $47 billion in US Treasury bonds. In a single week. Japan sold $31 billion more. Saudi Arabia quietly offloaded another $22 billion. The 30-year US Treasury yield hit 5.4%, the highest in 23 years. And in the White House, someone looked at those numbers and realized something terrifying. America couldn't afford to lose this war, not militarily, financially. The bombs weren't dropped to stop Iran's nuclear program. They were dropped to stop something far more dangerous, a global run on US debt. This video will change everything you thought you understood about why America went to war. Let's start with what the White House said. Iran was weeks away from nuclear capability. The Strait of Hormuz closure was economic aggression. America's security was at stake. Operation Epic Fury was necessary, proportionate, decisive. And that's all true, partially. But ask one question the press hasn't asked. Why now? Iran has been enriching uranium for 15 years. The Strait of Hormuz has been threatened dozens of times. Iran has been a US adversary for 47 years. None of that triggered a direct military strike until March 2026. So what changed? The UN toll road changed everything. When Iran announced that oil through the Strait must be paid in Chinese yuan, it didn't just threaten America's energy supply. It threatened America's entire financial architecture. Because here's what most people don't understand. The petrodollar isn't just about oil, it's about debt. When the world buys oil in dollars, those dollars have to go somewhere. They go into US Treasury bonds. They fund America's $36 trillion in debt. They keep US interest rates low. They keep America solvent. The moment oil starts trading in yuan, the world needs fewer dollars. Fewer dollars means fewer treasury buyers. Fewer treasury buyers means higher yields. Higher yields means America's debt becomes unsustainable. And that is what was happening, in real time, in the bond market, while the world watched missile strikes. Here's the number that terrified the US government, 5.4%. That's the yield on a 30-year US Treasury bond in the week before Operation Epic Fury launched. To understand why that number is catastrophic, you need to understand how America pays its bills. The US government owes $36 trillion. It doesn't have $36 trillion. It never will. So it borrows. Constantly. Every single day. It sells treasury bonds to investors. Foreign governments, pension funds, banks. Those investors lend America money in exchange for interest. When bond yields are low, say 2%, 3%, America can borrow cheaply, pay low interest, stay functional. When bond yields are high, 5.4%, America pays more interest on $36 trillion every single year. Do the math. At 5.4%, America owes roughly $1.9 trillion in interest payments per year. That's more than the entire US defense budget, more than Social Security, more than Medicare. Just in interest, just to service debt that already exists, before spending a single dollar on anything new. And yields were rising because China, Japan, and Saudi Arabia were selling treasury bonds, converting them to other currencies, including yuan. This wasn't a slow trend. This was a sudden, accelerating sell-off, triggered directly by the yuan toll road. The bond market was telling Washington, if you don't fix this, America becomes Greece, at scale. Washington heard the message and reached for the one tool it has always reached for: military force. The connection between a military strike in Iran and a bond market panic in Washington is exactly what this channel exists to explain. Not the headline, the architecture beneath it. Subscribe if you haven't, because what comes next is the part nobody is talking about. Here's the problem with using military force to solve a financial problem. Bombs can destroy nuclear facilities. They cannot rebuild treasury demand. You can take out Iran's uranium centrifuges. You cannot force China to buy US bonds again. You cannot sanction Japan into accepting lower yields. You cannot bomb Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth managers back into dollar assets. Operation Epic Fury may have eliminated Iran's short-term threat to the Strait, but it cannot reverse the structural shift that Iran triggered. And here's what makes this truly dangerous. China didn't fire a single shot. China lost nothing. China's infrastructure, CIPS, the Shanghai Oil Exchange, the yuan contracts, the $245 trillion in yuan transactions, all of it is still intact. All of it is still operating. Iran was the instrument. China was the architect. And you cannot bomb an architect. The yuan toll road is gone for now, but the yuan payment infrastructure, still there, waiting. For the next crisis, the next Iran, the next instrument. Military power stopped the immediate threat. It did nothing to address the underlying vulnerability. America won the battle. The war over the dollar, that's a different question entirely. Every nation on Earth just watched this sequence. Iran challenged the petrodollar, using China's financial infrastructure. America responded with military force, and every nation just filed away 2 lessons. Lesson 1. Challenging the dollar militarily triggers US bombs. Don't do it openly. Do it quietly, the way China has been doing it for 10 years. Lesson 2. The dollar system is more fragile than it looks. A single choke point, a yuan toll road, and America's treasury market cracked in less than 3 weeks. Russia is watching, already settling 85% of its trade with China in yuan. India is watching, already building rupee-based oil settlement channels. Brazil, Indonesia, South Africa, the entire BRICS coalition, all watching, all learning. The lesson isn't, don't challenge America. The lesson is, do it slowly, do it financially. Don't give them a military target. Operation Epic Fury may have secured the Strait, but it taught every rival nation exactly how to run the next play. More carefully, more patiently, more lethally. China already knew this. Now everyone else does too. Here's what a 5.4% Treasury yield means for you. Directly, in your life. Mortgage rates track Treasury yields. When the 30-year yield hits 5.4%, a 30-year mortgage rate typically hits 7 to 8%. On a $400,000 home, that's $800 more per month than a year ago. That's not a statistic. That's a family that can't buy a house, a business that can't expand, a dream deferred. Your 401k is affected too. When yields rise, bond prices fall. If you hold bond funds in your retirement account, those dropped in value. Quietly, while you were watching the missile strikes. And the inflation connection. If the dollar weakens because fewer nations need dollars, imports cost more. Everything from electronics to food. Your cost of living rises. Without a single raise in your paycheck, Operation Epic Fury may have secured the Strait, but the financial forces it was trying to stop, they're still in motion. Slower now, but still moving, in the same direction. Let's come back to the question we started with. Why did Trump really attack Iran? The nuclear program was real. The Strait closure was real. The security threat was real. But the reason it happened now, the reason the decision was made in days instead of months, was the bond market. $47 billion in Chinese treasury sales. $31 billion from Japan. $22 billion from Saudi Arabia. Yields spiking toward collapse. The financial system sending one message: fix this or we sell more. America couldn't let that continue. So it did what it always does when financial logic fails. It reached for military logic. We've now told you from our videos of the same story. The petrodollar, how the system was built. The Strait of Hormuz, where it was threatened. The yuan ultimatum, who engineered the attack. And now, this why America struck back. And why the underlying problem remains. There is more coming. We don't know exactly what shape it takes. But the forces are already in motion. The infrastructure is already built. The lessons have already been learned. The dollar isn't dead, but it is no longer inevitable. And in the world of global finance, the moment something stops being inevitable, it starts becoming optional. Subscribe to Wealth Geostrategy. We'll be here for more update.